Hey guys, we're on chapter 7, hair and scalp properties. Our motivational thought for this chapter is beauty draws us with a single hair. How many of you can drive a car? Do you know how to put gas in a car, air in the tire? Do you know how to check your oil? Do you know how to change your oil? Do you know how to change your tire? Most of the time, we don't know how to do that, and we leave it to the people who do, the mechanics. I know I do. I take mine to the mechanic down the road from me that I know and trust, and I take it to the same person all the time. And that's just like us. Our clients are going to come to us and come to the people they know and trust every time that they know that we know about their hair and they know about the scalp properties and what to do with it. All right, so why should we study hair and scalp properties? Because you will be responsible for protecting the health and integrity of your client's hair and scalp. You must understand hair composition and how hairstyling and chemical services alter the hair. Analyzing the hair and scalp is key first step to providing service. We've been over this and y'all have heard me say that we have to do a scalp analysis before every service. Understanding how the hair structure is formed and how hairstyling and chemical service alter the hair will lead to safer, smarter services. Identifying hair growth cycles and differences between common and uncommon hair loss helps better recommend client hair loss treatments. Trichology. It is the study of hair, including its diseases and care. And you'll get more into this in the fall with Miss Devon when you study trichology and chemistry. The term trichology comes from the Greek word trichos, which is hair, and ology, the study of. The hair, skin, nails, and glands are part of the integumentary system, which you just learned about in the anatomy. Although the hair is no longer needed for warmth and protection, it still impacts our psychology in significant ways. The human hair. A strand of human hair has two parts, the root and the shaft. The hair root located below the epidermis, the skin's outer layer, and the hair shaft projects above the epidermis. Hair's living portion, listen to this part now, hair's living portion found below the skin consists of the hair follicle, hair bulb, and dermal papillae. So the hair that we're wearing outside that we're tossing around, putting curls in, putting color in, bleaching, is no longer living. The hair that's living is below the skin. The hair follicle, a tube-like structure in the skin or scalp that surrounds the hair root and anchors the hair in the skin. Hair follicles are not found on the palms of the hands or the soles of the feet. Hair bulb is located at the base of the follicle. It has a bulb shape and contains living cells that will form the hair strand. The dermal papilla is a cone-shaped elevation at the base of the hair bulb. It contains blood vessels that supply nutrients that allow the hair to grow. The rectopili muscle and sebaceous glands are attached to the hair follicle. The rectopili muscle, an involuntary muscle in the dermis that attaches to the hair follicle. When the rectopili contracts, the hair strand stands up, causing goosebumps. So the next time you get goosebumps, just say, oh, my rectopili muscles are standing up. And people look at you like, what? But you know the proper term for it. Sebaceous glands are attached to the hair follicle. They produce a substance called sebum, which is oil. The sebum lubricates the hair and the skin. Okay, now we have the hair shaft structure. And I wanted to make you something, and I may still do it. The hair shaft is a hair strand or fiber. It is the non-living portion of the hair that extends beyond the skin or scalp, because remember, the part that's living is not above the skin. The hair shaft consists of the cuticle, cortex, and the medulla. Then we have the hair cuticle, the hair's outermost layer. So if you'll look At the first one, the hair shaft, this is just a different picture showing more of it. At the bottom of it, it is formed from the cells that overlap, similar to the shingles on a roof. Cuticle protects the cortex. In a healthy hair, the cuticle lies flat, but during chemical service, it will soften and swell, allowing the chemicals to penetrate the cortex. The cortex is the fibrous protein layer of the hair. It is responsible for hair strength, elasticity, and color, and contributes to about 90% of the hair's weight. The medulla, also known as the hair's pith or core. Not all hair types have a medulla. Generally, coarse hair has a medulla, while fine hair doesn't. Beard hair always, remember that word, always, contains a medulla. Now in this picture, I put the picture from the book, which is the yellow one right here, the chemical composition of hair, and then I found a live hair strand and I put it in here also. So this is a magnified image of a live, or excuse me, a real hair strand. It's not live because our hair strands are dead. Hair is composed primarily of a protein called keratin. Living cells that form the hair are found in the hair bulb. These cells go through a process called keratinization. Keratinization consists of the following steps. Newly formed cells mature and fill up with a fibrous protein called keratin. Cells move upward, lose their nucleus, and die. Once the hair strand emerges from the scalp, the hair cells are dead and completely keratinized. Hair is approximately 90% protein. The remaining portion of combination of water, lipids, and traces of minerals. Amino acids are the protein building blocks that comprise hair. So you can see how the layers, just like they said, it's just like shingles on a roof. And you see some of the hairs on this picture to the left are kind of opened up, and it may be not even chemicals, but maybe from a blow dryer, flat iron, anything like that is going to compromise our cuticle and make it open slightly. Okay, let's talk about the cons elements. Our hair is 51% carbon, 21% oxygen, 6% hydrogen, 17% nitrogen, and 5% sulfur. These are the major elements that make up the human hair. And these are also the 5 elements that are found in the skin and the nails. All right. The amino acids. This is the top one towards the right. Amino acids link together end to end with a strong chemical bond called a peptide bond. As amino acids are linked by peptide bonds, they form a long chain called a polypeptide chain. These chains exist in a spiral configuration called a helix. So you have the 3 pictures, the amino acids, the peptide bonds, and the helix. The cortex side bonds. The cortex is made up of millions of polypeptide chains, which are cross-linked like a ladder's rungs by 3 types of side bonds, the hydrogen, salt, and disulfide bonds. These chains are responsible for hair strength and elasticity. The side bonds account for about 1/3 of the hair's overall strength. The hydrogen bond is a weak physical bond. The attraction of opposite charges forms hydrogen bonds. They are easily broken by water or heat, such as during wet and thermal styling. When the hair dries or cools, the bonds reform. Allowing thermal curls to cool before styling will hold the style longer, which means if I have natural curly hair and I wet it, of course it may look straight in that shampoo bowl. But as soon as it dries, or while the water is evaporating on my hair or drying out of my hair is going to go back to its curly form. And just as with the flat iron, if I flat iron my hair and it's naturally curly, it is going to take that shape of that flat iron. But if I do not let that cool and I go through it, guess what? It's going to bounce back up to that, not necessarily curly form, but it will bounce back up to a wave form. So the hydrogen bond is one of the first bonds ever broken in any process, whether it's a shampoo set, shampoo style, a chemical wave. That's going to be the first bond broken. Salt bond is also a weak physical side bond. Salt bonds, like hydrogen bonds, result from attracting opposite charges. Salt bonds are broken by changes in pH, so they are easily broken by strong alkaline or acidic solutions. So if you use color or something like that on it, or pH is in a pool also. So if you get in a pool, you know, that chemical in that pool can also change your hair because you're changing the pH of something, okay? Disulfide bonds, a strong chemical side bond. There are fewer disulfide bonds than hydrogen or salt bonds, but disulfide bonds are much stronger. The disulfide bond joins the sulfur atoms of two neighboring cysteine amino acids within the polypeptide chain. Permanent waves and hair relaxers alter disulfide bonds. Misusing chemicals can damage the disulfide bonds, which weakens the hair. Thiopermanent waves and thio-relaxers break disulfide bonds and reforms the bonds with thio-neutralizers. Hydroxide chemical hair relaxers break disulfide bonds and convert them to lanthionine bonds. The disulfide bonds converted to lanthionine bonds cannot be reformed. So when a permanent wave, you get that curl in there and then you have to neutralize it to reform a bond. But it's a bond that is now curly instead of straight. If you're using a relaxer and you're straightening that curl and then you put that neutralizer on there, it's going to neutralize it, try to get it back to that pH, but now it's going to be straight instead of curly. And the hydroxide relaxer, the lanthionine bonds are converted, but they cannot be reformed. None of them will be reformed back to what they were anyway, and you never cross over these chemicals, okay? Okay, so now we have a table right here. The same thing is saying the same thing I just told you, the hydrogen, the salt, disulfide, the peptide, what breaks them, the strength, reformed, everything you need to know, okay? The hair pigment. You have natural hair color is the result of a pigment called melanin located within the cortex. Melanin forms from cells called melanocytes. There are two types of melanin. Eumelanin consists of brown and black pigment and is predominant pigment in black and brown and black and brunette hair. So if you've got someone who's got, say, a woman who's got blonde hair and a man who has brown, dark brown, almost black hair, and they have a child together, most likely their hair will be dark, that child, because it is predominant. The darker hair is predominant over the blonde, okay? And as Miss Pam was telling the class yesterday, nobody really has a natural black hair. They will have a dark brown hair, but most people do not have that natural black hair. When you put that black hair dye on or hair color on them, you will see a difference what black color is towards natural black color. Then we have pheomelanin, and this is the yellow to red pigment in natural blonde and red shades of hair. So you can see in the first two pictures right here, the dark brown, the brown, and then it's converting into the lighter brown, the reddish orange, and the blonde, okay? All right, then we have the wave pattern. Hair's wave pattern refers to the amount of movement or shape in the hair strand. Wave patterns are classified as straight, wavy, curly, or coily. Wave pattern is the one area of hair analysis that doesn't look at the strength or condition of the hair, but it is an important component of the hair cutting and hair styling. Natural wave patterns are the result of genetics. And the reason why hair cutting, if you hold that hair tight when you're cutting natural curly hair or kinky coily hair, and you hold it tight, that hair is going to bounce up real hard. Okay, I had to get back to our skin or the hair follicles. The shape of the hair follicle determines the shape of the hair strand. The hair with the round cross section is straight. So you see the hair is standing straight up. The hair with an oval cross section is wavy or curly. Hair with an elliptical or shaped cross section is extremely curly. The flatter the hair follicle is, the curlier the hair will be. Wave pattern typically varies throughout the head. Wave pattern can change during an individual's lifetime. Hormones can affect the wave pattern. I'm a prime example of that. When I was up until I was 4, I had natural curly hair. I believe I've told y'all about this. Then my hair was bone straight. Once I got pregnant, I had a little bit of a wave, but nothing, ecstatic. Then got older, hormones changed. Now my hair, when I shampoo it, I can scrunch it up and I have curls. Curly hair tends to be drier than straight hair and is accompanied by a drier scalp. Due to the shape of the curled hair strand, the sebum produced by the body cannot reach the ends of the hair. Very curly hair is referred to as coily. It has an irregular shape and is more likely to break between the twists. Because the coils will often mesh together, moisturizing products and detangling solutions are recommended. Scalp and hair analysis. Now, I don't have to really go through all of this because you know that we have to do a hair and scalp analysis before every thing we do with our clients, every service. And when we analyze the hair to determine the best, we're looking on the scalp for cuts and abrasions or any contagious diseases. But the hair, we're looking for the texture, the density, the porosity, elasticity, the growth patterns, dryness, oiliness of the hair and scalp. On the scalp, you're going to, like I said, you're going to look for cuts, abrasions, contagious scalp conditions such as tinea and pediculosis capitis. Excuse me, my mouth is getting dry. Okay, so the texture of the hair. Texture is the diameter of an individual hair strand. Hair texture is classified as fine, medium, or coarse. It is common for hair from different areas of the head to have different textures. Fine hair is the smallest diameter, medium is an average, and coarse is the largest diameter. Visualize fine hair as thread and coarse hair as yarn. Fine hair has characteristics that include smallest diameter, fragile in comparison to medium or coarse, may process faster during chemical services, requires lower heat during thermal services, and may feel limp or flat. Medium hair, most common hair texture, the standard to which other hair textures are compared, does not present problems or concerns in styling. Coarse hair has the largest diameter, may be resistant to processing and requires stronger chemicals than fine hair, requires higher temperature during thermal services, and may be harder to manage and can be dry and frizzy in comparison to fine and medium hair. You need a single strand of hair to determine a client's hair texture. If you can barely see the hair, or if you run the hair between your thumb and index finger and you can barely feel the hair, it is fine. If the hair strand looks larger or is textured and you can easily feel it, excuse me, the hair is coarse. Medium hair texture falls between the fine and the coarse. The density is how you measure the number of individual hair strands on 1 square inch. of the scalp. Hair density can be classified as low, medium, or high, also known as thin, medium, or thick. To determine hair density, consider how much of the scalp is visible. If you can see the scalp, the density is thin. Some visible scalp is medium. No visible scalp is thick. An individual with thin hair has a lower number of hairs per square inch in a comparison to a person with thick hair. Average hair density is approximately 2,200 hairs per square inch, with a total of about 100,000 hairs on the scalp. I really think I've got more than that on my scalp, but I think about 200 fall out every day. Density varies with natural hair color. Blondes usually have the highest density. Redheads tend to have the lowest density. Some individuals may have coarse hair texture but low hair density, while others may have fine hair textures with high hair density. Average number of hairs on a head: blonde is 140,000, brown 110, black 108, and red 80,000. All right, hair porosity. This refers to the hair's ability to absorb water. Porosity is determined by the cuticle layer's condition and the degree of the scales of the cuticle are raised. So if you look in this first picture, that first picture of the hair strand, it kind of looks like a snake. You know, everything is tight. The next one is the average. I mean, you can see a little bit of opening, and then the next one kind of looks like a flower trying to open it up right there, and that's high porosity. The first one is hair may just kind of run off of it. The next one, the hair is going to absorb some water better, a whole lot better than the first picture, and the next one, the hair is going to absorb a lot of water. And if the hair, most of the time, this hair is bleached where it's high porosity or it's got a lot of color or chemicals on it, or it's highly damaged from heat or something like that. So say it was really bleached hair and you got into a swimming pool, you know, they've got that chemical in there and you get out, your hair has absorbed all of that, what is it they put in there? The chlorine. Your hair is going to turn to a greenish color, and now you've got to get all of that out. And it's kind of like a pocket. It's kind of like um, you're going down the road and there's potholes in the road and it's been raining. The road is kind of wet or it's drying up, but that pothole's still full of water. That's the way it is with that hair strand right there. Okay. So we already know about the low porosity, the average porosity, and the high porosity. And the next picture over there with the hair strand, the different degrees of porosity can be found in all hair textures, and an individual can have different degrees of porosity in different areas of the head. So my hair may be fine in the back or on the sides. And when I was in a salon, there was a girl, her sides were fine. And it's where she kept running her fingers through her hair all day long. Well, there's oils in your hand. And so her hands had oils in it and she was constantly, but she kept the heat on the back of her head all the time. So the back of her hair was fried. So she had average porosity on the sides and high porosity in the back. So check porosity on dry hair by taking a strand of hair, several hairs from 4 different areas: your front hairline, your temple, your crown, and your nape. Hold the strand securely with one hand while sliding the other hand, thumb, and forefinger from the scalp to the end. From the end to the scalp, excuse me. If the hair feels smooth, the cuticle is compact and dense and hard. Has low porosity. If you feel slight roughness, it is porous. If the hair feels very rough, it is dry or breaks, it is highly porous and may have been over-processed. All right, our next thing is the hair elasticity. Hair elasticity is the ability to stretch and return to its original length without breaking. Hair elasticity is a reflection of the strength of the side bonds in the cortex. Wet hair with an average elasticity will stretch between 30 and 50% of its length and return to the same length without breaking. Dry hair stretches 20% of its length. So that's the reason why I tell you when you're cutting hair, make sure all the hair is completely wet the same amount, because the hair is stretching at different rates, because the dry hair is not going to stretch the way that wet hair is. And your hair can stretch at different places, different, just like your porosity. Hair with low elasticity may feel brittle and break easily, not be able to hold a curl from a wet setting, styling, or permanent wave. Be the result of weak side bonds that are caused by overprocessing or physical damage by styling tools. Require a solution with a lower pH to minimize further damage, and may not maintain a strong curl pattern when chemical services are performed. Test elasticity with wet hair. Check 4 areas of the head: front hairline, temple, crown, and nape. To determine the elasticity, place a strand of wet hair between the thumb and index finger mid-strand. Place the other hand's thumb and index finger near the end of the strand. Hold the strand securely and stretch it. If the hair stretches and returns its original length without breaking, it has average elasticity. If the hair breaks easily or fails to return to its original length, it has low elasticity. And we can do that in class. Some of my hair will stretch and go back. Some of it will stretch and, just break. The hair growth patterns. They are important when cutting or styling hair. During the hair analysis, identify the hair growth pattern and determine how they will affect the desired cut and style. The hair follicles that grow out of the head at a perpendicular 90-degree angle or in a straight direction from the head may cause the following 3 growth patterns to result. A hair string, the hair flowing in the same direction, is caused by follicles sloping in the same direction. A natural part is caused by 2 hair strings flowing in opposite directions. A whorl, it occurs when the hair leaves the follicle at an angle. Hair grows in a circular pattern, and sometimes there is more than one whorl. And most time you're going to find this in the crown area. A cowlick, hair grows straight up or at a different angle than the other hair. Cowlicks are usually more noticeable at the crown, but they may be located anywhere on the head. And as you can see, this little boy has a cowlick at the front. My husband's cousin's little boy has 2 right at the front, so it's like he has a mohawk the whole time. Okay? Inactive sebaceous glands. This is dry hair and the scalp. This can be caused, the inactive sebaceous glands can cause dry hair and scalp. Important things to remember about the dry hair and scalp include excessive shampooing and changes in climate may aggravate these conditions. A lot of people will think I've got to shampoo my hair and get rid of all this dandruff. But you need the oils in your hair to get rid of that dry scalp. So you need to stop shampooing so much. Lack of sebum may cause the hair to be dull, dry, and lifeless. Treat dry hair and scalp with products containing moisturizers and emollients. People with dry hair and scalp should avoid frequent shampooing, strong soaps, detergents, and high alcohol content products. Don't confuse dry hair with overly porous hair damaged by thermal styling, chemical services, or environmental conditions. Oily hair and scalp. Overactive sebaceous glands cause oily hair and scalp. Important things to remember about oily hair and scalp include: use a shampoo that helps return the scalp to its own natural pH. Avoid products that are too harsh, as they can trigger additional oil production. Thoroughly rinse hair after shampooing. All right, the hair growth. The 3 main types of body hair are lanugo, vellus, and terminal hair. The lanugo is the short, fine hair that covers a fetus and generally sheds within a few weeks of birth. Vellus hair is short, fine, unpigmented body hair, often referred to as peach fuzz, typically less than 1/3 inch long and can appear anywhere on the skin apart from the palms and the soles and lips. The follicles that produce vellus hair does not have sebaceous glands. Vellus hair primary function is to help with the evaporation of perspiration and body temperature regulation. So you'll find this mostly on your arms. You have peach fuzz on your face. Everybody has it, and it's all over your body. This is your vellus hair. Terminal hair is the long pigmented hair on your scalp and body. It is coarser than vellus hair and except for gray hair is pigmented. It may have a medulla. All hair follicles are capable of producing either vellus or terminal hair, depending on genetics, age, and hormones. And the hair growth. The hair grows in a continuous cycle that typically lasts 2 to 6 years. The cycle features 3 phases: anagen, catagen, and telogen. The anagen phase is the growth phase. New hair is produced. New cells are produced in the follicle more quickly than other cells in the body. The average growth rate for healthy scalp hair is about a half an inch per month. Hair growth rate varies with age and gender. Scalp hair grows rapidly between the ages of 15 and 30, but slows down sharply after 50. I feel like my hair has speeded up since I turned 50, honestly. About 90% of hair is in the anagen phase at any time. This phase lasts 2 to 6 years, but can last as long as 10 years. This is why some people's hair doesn't grow beyond a certain length, while others can grow extremely long hair. The catagen phase is the brief transition period between the hair follicle growth and the resting phases. The follicle canal shrinks and detaches from the dermal papilla, and the hair bulb disappears, and the shrunken root end forms a round club. Less than 1% of scalp hair is in the catagen phase at any time. This phase lasts 1 to 2 weeks. The telogen phase is the resting phase. It is the final hair cycle phase. The hair either sheds or remains in place until the next anagen phase, when the new hair growing in pushes it out, shedding its natural part of the hair's growth cycle. It is common to lose 50 to 100 hairs per day. And I like to say the anagen phase is like a baby phase, and they're growing up, and then the catagen phase is like an adult phase, and the telogen phase is like a retirement phase. I'm getting to that retirement phase, okay? All right, the hair myths and facts. Myth: shaving and cutting hair makes it grow back faster, darker, and coarser. Now, y'all know when we shave our legs and it comes back and you feel that stubble, and you're like, it's growing back thicker, it's growing back faster. No, it's not. When the hair first starts growing back, if you let it grow back for any length of time, give it a couple of weeks, it's going to be soft hair, just like it was before you ever started shaving at 12, 13 years old, when whatever age you were when you started shaving. It'll be just like that again. It is not thicker. It is not coarser. It is not darker, anything. So shaving does not make it like that. Genetics determines hair growth rate. Once the hair grows about 0.2 to 0.8 of an inch away from the skin, it will be the same color it was prior to shaving. Myth: scalp massage increases hair growth. Fact: scalp massage can stimulate blood microcirculation, which provides nutrients to the hair follicle. However, it has not been scientifically proven that stimulation or scalp massage increases hair growth. Minoxidil and finasteride are the only scientifically proven treatments to help stop hair loss and possibly regrow hair. Both are approved by the Food and Drug Administration. Myth: gray hair is coarser and more resistant than pigmented hair. Fact: other than the lack of pigment, gray hair is the same as pigmented hair. So, what we have learned: we should be able to explain the importance of understanding hair and scalp properties, describe the hair root structure and the functions, Identify the hair shaft's three main layers and their functions. Explain the hair's chemical composition and what gives it strength and elasticity and color. Compare the different factors considered during a scalp and hair analysis. And describe the three hair types and the three hair growth cycles. Now, don't forget, you've got to do your checking questions in Chapter 7 in your red book. I hope you followed along and highlighted and made little notes in your book while we were going through this PowerPoint, and that way you can go back and answer your questions correctly. Please remember to number your answers and put them in the box below.